I think whenever you're ready, Bill, you can give it a minute or two if you want, or whatever you want to do, and then I'll just continue to let people in.
Yeah, I'll give it a minute.
Okay.
How many people do you have, Jody? I don't see.
There's 11, including us.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll give it a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Next year, I think we should have some music playing or something.
Sure.
You want me to sing?
Charlie says yes, so go for it, Mike.
Luckily, you have that mute button.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we could get you guys to record something. I hear Max plays some a mean trombone. Is that right? Or is it a saxophone?
I play trombone, yeah.
What else do you play?
Trombone? Looking at playing
Bass. You play
it's
bass
basically the same.
and the guitar. He's too modest. Go get it, Max. Go get your bass. Whip something
No,
out.
I'm not bringing it up right now.
Bill said he wanted music. He wanted music. A captain's supposed to fulfill that role. Go get your bass.
Is Charlie here? Charlie plays saxophone.
Charlie's there. His saxophone's right next to him. I know where he
Yeah,
is.
come on, Charlie. Let's see it.
Come on. Hit it, Charlie.
You guys don't want to see me play saxophone.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, I
we
do.
do.
I do.
Yes. I heard you on stage the other night.
That was a good concert.
That was a good concert. Wow.
Yeah. If we could only get that kind of talent from these guys out there on the race course. Well, so what? We're just waiting. We're giving people a couple of minutes. I'll keep making this announcement every 30 seconds, I guess. We've only got 14 participants. I was hoping for 20. So, and then we'll get going. So 7:02, I'm going to go to 7:04. Oops, 7:03 now. Are the Dales on? I think I saw Mary. I can't see the list. Whoops. Oh, and you're recording already, Jody. You're gonna need to trim out all that banter at the start.
I'll edit it.
Thank you.
And maybe the beverages.
Yeah, for
No,
sure.
I'm kidding.
For sure. All right, 16 participants. We're getting close to my magic number, but we're going to get started because I have a lot of information to share. And we want the Q&A at the end to be as long as possible. Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is Bill Miller speaking. I am the head coach this year for the Wayzata mountain bike team, joined by all of you, including a number of our ride leaders and captains for the mountain bike team for next season. And you'll be hearing from myself, from the captains, and some of the ride leaders if they have information to share, if they see that I've overlooked anything. I've got basically 9 parts to our presentation. To give you a preview, I'll go over what the program is about. I'll go over the staff. I'll let the captains introduce themselves. We'll go through what practice is like, schedule, etc. We'll go through our season. We'll talk through equipment, the registration, and then finally contact information for for any questions that you might have afterwards, and a Q&A session. We scheduled an hour. I have a number of slides. I'm going to go through the initial slides relatively quickly, and then slow down once we get into the things that most people are interested in, like how practices are run and what type of equipment we need. So moving forward. All right. The structure of the team, or the Minnesota Cycling Association, I'm sorry. The Minnesota Cycling Association last year would have been NICA, Minnesota High School Cycling League. They had a name change and slight organization change this year, but essentially the same as far as we're concerned and the riders are concerned. It's the same setup as last year, if you're familiar with what we were last year. It's growing every year. I've got essentially last year's numbers in here. I haven't updated them, but they tell me that to expect 20 to 30% growth. So we're looking at 20 to 30% more than what you see here. We are a community organization and we're a team, we're not a club. Most importantly though, we're a family. And if you were on for the first few minutes of the thing, you could hear the banter back and forth between us. We really enjoy each other's company. The Cycling Association is a youth development organization. It's 6th to 12th grade. It's co-ed, and most importantly, it's open to everyone. Any ability level. We're happy to have riders who are just getting started. We're happy to have riders who've been biking and racing, and we're really focused on having a good time and teaching the kids how to participate in this type of activity, racing, as well as practicing as a team. Just to point out that we are run through community ed, and so questions, comments, etc., can be, aside from reaching out to me, the head coach, can go to Jody Olson, or you can reach Jody through the community ed office, and I'll have that contact information at the end. All right, our team is about all of these things, and the foundation is the league, Minnesota Cycling League, and they offer us a set of standards, I guess, qualities that they would like the team to foster: equality, a strong mind, strong body, strong character, inclusivity, and having fun and adventure. So that's what you can expect as a rider on our team. Well, you have to witness it to see how good it is, but it's really a really strong program, and the kids learn a lot. There we go. Okay, about who we are, the staff. So our team is structured so that there is at least a ratio of 2 ride leaders, adults, coaches, per every 8 riders or athletes. And the ride leaders are the backbone of the team. We couldn't function without them. The kids would not be able to practice and ride the trails the way we do without the ride leaders. They really are a key component to the team, and they're volunteers. They're parents of kids that are on the team, and they spend a lot of time, 3 practices a week, 2 to 3 practices a week, riding with us a number of hours every week. So they're really, really important component of the team, and they contribute a lot. This is the current list so far this year. We're looking for 2 to 3 more. Maybe, if I could get 4 more ride leaders, that would be great. Given the ratio that is required, we can't expand the team much beyond what it is without adding more ride leaders. If any parents are interested, or if you know someone who's interested in being a ride leader, they should contact me and I can help. I can walk you through what the expectations are, what the training is all about, etc. I can answer any questions. Assistant coaches are TBD, anticipating that Joel of France will return as an assistant coach. I texted with him the other day to confirm that. But we'll get the names for assistant coaches and their roles here out before the season starts. All right, we go through the staff of the team, the ride leaders, the coaches go through a significant amount of training, about 4 to 6 hours of training. Some of us go through more to get from level 1 to level 3. I have it on here as NICA, but it's actually Minnesota Cycling Association training and certification. We're for CPR and first aid certified. We go through criminal background checks to make sure that we're ready to help the kids and not cause any problems. And we do concussion training and MTB 101. So we do some skills training through the league, and we do some professional development through the league on coaching, etc. So it's, although everyone is a ride leader, every ride leader is a parent and a volunteer, the training really sets us apart from other volunteers. For example, the volunteers who volunteer at the races to help us run our tent, in that we have training to run a practice safely and to demonstrate skills to the kids. All right. So that's what the team's all about. That's what the league is about. Let's move to captains. I'd like them to introduce themselves, and I think they can each unmute themselves. Is that correct, Jody? So, yeah. But I can't see the list of participants. So Kalia on. We'll go in this order. Whoops. No, wait, I guess we're gonna go in this order, Max.
Hi, I'm Max. I'm going to be going to my senior year on the team. It'll be my 5th year on the team. And the story that I wanted to share about my first year was that I was actually terrified of mountain biking. I had never mountain biked before. Connor, one of the other captains, actually had gotten me into it, and I did my best to avoid any actual mountain bike practice, and I really enjoyed the endurance ones. Something to look forward to on the team is the race day energy. Everybody's hyped up, cheering each other on. You'll see large groups of people in the forest, hammocking, setting up hammocks and eating food. You can join any one of them if you want. And as captain, I will make sure that you feel that you have a place on this team and that you have a group you can go to at the practice, and just have a really fun time, even if it's your first year. And I like glitter, as you can see on the image.
Thanks, Max. All right, now it's Kalia's turn.
Hi, I'm Kalia. I'm going to be a senior, and this is going to be my 4th year on the team. And my first year, I had never mountain biked before, so I was really nervous about it. And I've just learned a lot from it, and it's really fun. And the team is just very welcoming. We all support each other and help each other out when we need it. And as a captain, I'll make sure that the new riders will feel included and have their own group of people and mix with others as well.
All right, thank you. Charlie.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I'm going to be a senior. It'll be my 5th year on the team. My first year on the team, it just really felt like I had found my place, and I met some truly amazing people. The team's just a really cool community. And that's kind of my first year story. Something that is really cool that we do that I look forward to every year is we go up to Cuyuna and do a group ride, and it's just an absolute blast. So you get to ride trails that are rated like top 15 in the world, and they're just fun trails, fun environment. Um, and I'm really looking forward to helping out younger riders. I'd like to do rides where maybe seniors go and ride with the lower groups, show them some technical skills and do something like that.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Joe.
My name is Joe, and I'll be a senior next year, and this will be my 6th year on the team. And so my first mountain bike practice, that was the first time that I ever rode mountain bike trails. Something that I really enjoy about the team is that, like, when you're not at racing or when you're not the one racing, you enjoy cheering people on, such as like what Max said, sitting in the hammocks. It's just kind of like a race day event. And then as a captain, I just want to make sure that, like, as most of the captains said, like, make sure that the younger riders have like a place on the team, even if they don't have riding experience, just like I did when I was my first year on the team.
All right, thanks, Joe. And Connor.
All right, my name's Connor, and well, my my first year share was I didn't really know what to eat before races, and me and my dad were in a hurry, so I got a McMuffin at McDonald's before Mankato. That was a pretty big mistake, I'd say. I felt very sick after, and yeah, I'm gonna make sure none of the riders do that this year. But yeah, one thing I always liked about the mountain biking team was that we always get to try fun trails like Cuyuna, and as a captain, I just want to make sure that all the new riders feel comfortable in the team and help them adjust to mountain biking if they're like new and haven't played or rode before, and just make sure that they're doing well and have a place in the team.
All right, thanks, Connor. So our captains will have roles on the team. They'll participate in a way above and beyond the other team members in helping coordinate practices and social events, the carbo load dinners that we do, for example, and they'll have just kind of an outsized role relative to other riders to demonstrate their leadership as seniors. They bring a lot to the program. They're all skilled riders, and they offer a lot. So it's going to be a lot of fun to have this group of 5 helping the ride leaders run the show this year. All right. So we'll go into team practice. I have just 3 or 4 slides about practices. The purposes of the practices are to run skills and drills. We need everyone to focus on bike handling, especially early on in the season, to make sure that everyone is up to the level needed to participate in the races on the trails, or even just to ride the trails themselves. The trails that we begin riding on are not terribly challenging. At least there are sections of them that are rather easy to ride, but nonetheless, they're fun trails. They do have some features on them that require specific bike handling skills, and we'll be teaching everyone about those skills. We will work on endurance, cardiovascular. We'll work on strength, especially core strength, mental toughness and physical toughness. There'll be some conversations about race strategy, and road and trail safety is a big one. We do ride in public spaces or public parks. We ride on the loose line. We share the trails with other users, walkers, riders, etc. And there's a strong emphasis at our practices on how to ride safely. We avoid riding on the roads as much as possible. there's very few miles that this team is going to put on that are on a public street, but it is unavoidable for some of our practices, especially on wet weather days, to be off of the pavement. So there'll be a little bit of road riding. Our ride leaders follow predetermined courses, and the safety is assessed before the season so that we understand where the risks are on the road rides that we have, or any of the rides actually that we have. And through all of this, the kids will build character and really strong relationships with the other kids on the team. We do a lot of team building, and it's a big team. There's going to be 70 plus kids out there at the practices. We break them into smaller groups we call pods, and that helps them get to know each other, but then we also bring them together frequently so that everyone is together and practicing some team skills, etc., in larger groups. Our practices and our races are done on single track. Double track is like a dirt road, basically. As I mentioned, we do skills, strength, and cardio. Pack riding is something where we're riding close together in groups of usually 8, but sometimes more, for example, on the loose line or on the street. Interval training is a key component to our practice. There's a couple of over distance rides, or at least one per year. Over distance for us being, maybe 30 miles. And there's some goal and target setting that will occur early in the season, and then some checks throughout the season. We practice 3 times per week. Practice will start in late July. It'll be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday to preserve those summer weekends. And then after Labor Day, we'll move to Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. We do not have very many Sunday practices at all because of the race schedule, which takes up the weekends. So I'm anticipating only 2 Sunday practices in the fall after Labor Day. So practice essentially will be Tuesday, Thursday. And where we ride. So if you're familiar with these trails, that's great because you get to ride them. If you're not familiar with them, Three Rivers Parks has trails at Lake Rebecca, at Elm Creek, and elsewhere around the region. But these are the 2 Three Rivers Parks trails we do. Theo Worth Trail System in Minneapolis is a trail that we ride. Lone Lake Park is a potential. We find it's a little bit too small for a team of our size to be there all at once. East Middle School, Gleason Lake, and the Loose Line are frequently visited, frequently used for our practices because of the attributes that they have, ease of access, ability to handle wet weather conditions, etc. As the captains mentioned, we have destination practice at Cuyuna, or maybe this year at Red Hat. We'll see, where we decide to put it. And that's an optional practice. It's difficult for everyone to make practices that are 2+ hours away. On rain days or really poor weather days, practices are held without the bicycles in the gyms, potentially on spinning machines at East Middle School if they're available. I'm not sure if that's actually going to be available this year. It has not been available to us for the past 2 years due to the pandemic. So I'll have to check on that. But we managed to pull practice off without bicycles a couple of times a year. And fingers crossed, it will only be a couple of times per year for this year. Last year, we had awesome weather practically the entire time. one key point for folks to take away is that we practice on bicycles, so we can cover a lot of ground really quickly. And so we need people to get to practice on time, so that within a few minutes of the practice start time, everyone is ready to go and to ride away, and then we leave. And so if an athlete is dropped off or arrives 10 minutes after practice starts, for example, there's likely not going to be anybody there, and they're not going to know where we are. So they effectively at that point will have missed practice. We ride in groups. We ride with the ride leaders. The athletes are always riding with one ride leader in front and one ride leader in the back, or maybe a ride leader in the middle and one in the back, but they're never without the ride leaders. So that's a key thing to plan for. And you know, if it's a challenge to get the rider to practice, you know, look for carpool opportunities or others to help out, because we really need everybody to be there. We can't wait. All right. So to start the season off, start every practice off, we take attendance. We record who's actually there. That's for safety and for basically keeping track of who's been participating in practice, but mostly for safety. We will level you, which means that at the start of the season, we will run a few tests on the bike to see where you sit, so that we can place you with a group of riders who best match your ability, so that you have the most fun while you're out there at practice. The time trial is one way that we do that tests your cardiovascular ability. And then, you know, we pay attention to your progress throughout the year and make adjustments where needed. The ride leaders are volunteers. They're trained. They put a lot of time and effort into being there to help us out. And we expect that the athletes will respect the ride leaders like they do the coach and any other parent or adult out there. But we really expect rule following while we're there. We're not interested in having kids who choose to do their own thing. And and we'll go over that at the start of the year and have some reminders throughout the season. And then also to respect your ride group members. This team is about inclusivity and equality and learning and having fun. And we expect that respectful demeanor will be exhibited by all of the athletes, as well as the ride leaders and their cheering sections during the races. All right, so if you're signed up for the season, or you're thinking about getting signed up for the season, this slide is for you, because this is what's going to happen. You're going to get stronger and faster. You're going to get more confident on your bicycle. That bicycle is going to be more fun than you ever expected. You're going to be surprised at the end of the season at how much you've grown in endurance and your ability to ride, your ability to overcome obstacles, both mentally and physical. And you'll make friends and have a lot of fun. You'll also learn how to maintain your bike a little bit, and we'll expect you to do it. We're not your mechanics shop or your maintenance shop. We're happy to help. We're happy to show you how to do things, but you're going to need to show up with a well-maintained machine. And like I said, we'll teach you how to do that at the start of the season, and then expect you to do it. So that'll be good. Really important to have a well-maintained bike for safety and for fun. And there's also a code of conduct which comes with the registration. Your parents or yourself may have read it when you're registered, There's the Minnesota Cycling League has a code of conduct, and we had one built into the registration as well. We've had some pretty wet races, a little bit of mud, but for the most part, our races are dry. It's the fall season, so there's not a lot of wet days, especially for the races that occur before October. But you never know. And we just do the best we can. All right, preseason opportunities. So to get ready, if you want to prep, the first thing I'll say is riding your bike is good. Get out there and ride. The best thing you can do is just do anything active outdoors. It's best to start the season with a good, healthy level of activity behind you. A few weeks of it anyway, whether it's running or playing soccer or baseball or any other sport, because we don't have a lot of time in our July and August training before we get to our first race. So you can try out racing in about the same format as we have. There's another organization that puts on a race in Minnesota, a series of races. It's called Minnesota Mountain Bike Series. As I said, you can go ride on your own. You could sign up for the Lopit Cycle Works or North Star community programs. The Lopit's down through the Theo Worth Trail Center. There are other similar programs around. They fill up pretty quickly, so it might be tough to get in there, but they're good programs. And like I said before, it's important to have good equipment. So bike shops get busy. They run out of parts, especially as you get later into the season. So, right now they've got a lot of things, a lot of parts in. They have some bikes in. They're probably backed up, but they're probably not too backed up. It's just good to get your bike looked over and make sure you got what you need for getting a few hundred miles in this fall. All right, so we're starting on July 25th this year. That'll be the new riders practice. Captains, new riders, ride leaders will be there. The athletes who participated in previous seasons will show up at the all-team practice on the 27th. And we start the season off with a 6:30 start time. We've got good daylight. We have a lot of volunteers who work full-time and need to get to practice on time, just like you do. And we push for as late a start as we can throughout the season. And actually the season time will change throughout the season. So that's something you'll see in the Team Snap calendar. We will move progressively from 6:30 to 6, and then to 5:30, and then 5. And our practices will average 2 hours, but as we get to the end of the season, they'll get shorter. They'll be 90-minute practices. Whoops. I mentioned that we do the assessments and sort out ride groups in the first week. By about week 5, we should be ready for race simulation and going out to Lake Rebecca. And although we'll already have ridden there, we will go over what it's like to race. And then by week 7, we'll be on our first race. The race lengths, this information is available on the Minnesota Cycling Association website. There's a lot of information available at the Minnesota Cycling Association website. And I'll share that screen image with you here at the end. But for everyone through 8th grade, 1 lap. Freshmen and JV2, 2 laps. And then athletes who qualify for JV3 or varsity race 3 laps or 4 laps. A lap is about 4 miles. sometimes a little bit less than that, 3.5 miles. And so the varsity is racing up to 16 miles. And they do it in about an hour, hour and 10 minutes, depending on where they're at. So it's pretty awesome to see. Tons of fun to see the 6th grade, 7th and 8th grade races as well. One lap is something you can really go all out for, but it's just a lot of fun on our race days. So our 2022 race dates and venues, again, these are going to be posted on Team Snap along with all of our practice dates. The Team Snap invitation will come out to registered riders, and it's an app you download on your phone, or you can access it via the internet, and we'll post these dates on there. So no need to write all of this down. You'll get a calendar. But the important thing to know is that races are 2-day events. You only race on one of the 2 days. Historically, the league has set up the races so that junior high is on Saturday and high school is on Sunday. They do not follow that format all the time religiously. So for example, the final race of the season, the format changes, and that's something you'll be notified about. But something to be aware of is that the first 4 races will probably be the same format every weekend, whatever format it is. And then the last one will change. I had 2 riders last year miss their race, the final race weekend, because they assumed that it would be at the exact same time and same day as the other 4 races had been. So that was a shame, but I guess it's a good opportunity for me to point out that the only communication you're really going to get from us is via Team Snap. So if you're expecting texts and emails and other things, that's not going to work. I can't run the program with a variety of communication outlets. There's too much to do and too little time to do it in to try to run that. So Team Snap it is. We survive on volunteers, as I pointed out with our ride leaders, but we as a league also survive on volunteers to basically run all of the events. And we've had fantastic showing from our ride leaders and some of our athletes and their parents in volunteering on race days to do all of these tasks that you see here, these jobs on the side of the screen, course marshals, sweeps, rovers, etc. So I can happy to answer questions about what those are, but we'll have plenty of time in the weeks leading up to the first race to talk about this. So I'm going to move on so we can get to Q&A. We had a lot of fun. All right, required equipment. So a modern cross-country mountain bike, what is that? That is going to have a 2-inch tire, 2-inch wide tire. It's going to have disc brakes. It's going to have a front shock on it, suspension shock on the front end. A hardtail, meaning no rear suspension, but rear suspension is okay if that's what you have. So we call it a full suspension bike. Skinny tired bikes are not allowed in the races. And so like a gravel bike, for example, is not going to work. The bike needs to be, as I mentioned, serviced and ready to go before the first practice. I gotta reiterate here that we go for rides that are anywhere between 8 and 20 miles long on any given night. So a bike that is in poor condition, that hasn't been serviced, not ready to ride, whether it be the tires, the tubes, the chain, whatever, could easily result in a breakdown that prevents us from completing the full practice for that particular group, or maybe strand some of us out, 8 miles from town or in the woods somewhere or whatever. And so it's pretty disruptive. It's really important to have a good, well-maintained bicycle. It does not need to be an expensive bicycle. I mean, they're all expensive, but it doesn't need to be crazy expensive. They are, I think, a little easier to find at this moment in the $500 to $2,500 range. It's crazy to say $2,500 range, but in that range, it looks like they're available at bike shops. But last year and the year prior, everything in that $500 to $1,500 range pretty much was gone early in the season. So if you're registered and you're thinking this bike that I've got is way too small, I'm going to need to get something else. Used bikes are fine, but if you're going to a new bike shop, I just want you to be aware that you don't have all summer to get that taken care of. A current bike helmet that fits properly. We'll be checking helmet fit. If the bike helmet doesn't fit, if it can't be fit right, you won't be practicing. Nobody puts their leg over the bike at our practices without their helmet on and strapped. So that's why that's second on the list. Is the bike's pretty important for a cycling practice, but the helmet is definitely the second most important thing. I mean, I guess you could show up with just the helmet and we could have you run around, but let's try to bring the bike too. A multi-tool specific for bicycles, Allen wrenches, a screwdriver, whatever your bike needs. Make sure it's the right size multi-tool to tighten the screws on your bike. An inner tube if you're riding a bike that has tubes inside the tires, and then tire levers. Again, we'll teach you how to do this, how to change your tire, etc. But it's not just for the sake of changing a tire. It's because during the race, if you get a flat, the expectation is that you'll take care of it yourself, or you'll draw a penalty if you don't take care of it yourself. So that's the reason, one of the reasons why it's important for us to have this equipment and to know how to use it. Okay, bottle cage on the bike with a full bottle or a backpack like a Camelback. Hydration is key. Practice is 2 hours long. There is nowhere to get water except use whatever you have with you at the start of practice is all you're going to get. We're not going to have water available for the kids either. So it's every person for themselves in terms of staying hydrated. And I think these days that most people are accustomed to that. So make sure you've got that. That's a key part of our equipment. And then also, this is going to seem like it's very far away, but the second half of the season, mid-September through October, we finish usually practically in the dark. So we need all the kids to have front and rear lights on their bicycles, and that front light needs to be something that shines brightly enough that they can see the roadway or the path in front of them. So not just a light that's for others to see you, but one for you to be able to see the trail in front of you. I'm not a proponent of cell phones for anybody, but if the child has it or the athlete has a cell phone and they're willing to or able to bring it to practice, that is encouraged for the sake of safety, just in case there is just in case they make a wrong turn on a trail or whatever, and they don't know where they are. Like I said, we ride in groups, and we try to control that. But there are turns off of some of the trails that we ride on, and it's possible that somebody could get separated from the group if they weren't paying attention to where everybody went. We haven't lost anybody yet. All right, suggested equipment. We ride in the woods, and sometimes we ride on very dusty, dirty trails, and eye protection is good. Padded bike shorts, just cycling shorts, whether they're padded or not, is critical for comfort. Your standard cotton shorts or underwear is not really going to work. Biking gloves are great for helping you keep your hands comfortable, your grip good. And actually, as we get later in the season, if you're prone to get cold, full-fingered wind blocking gloves are a lifesaver. Something with the wind blocking on the face of the glove. A saddle bag, something that straps underneath the back of your saddle or onto the frame is also really nice to have if you're not carrying a camelback. All right. There are a number of local cycling shops. The Minnesota Cycling League has negotiated some discounts with bike shops, with manufacturers, Trek, for example. You'll need to ask the cycling shop if they're participating and what the discount is. It's not uniform across all the manufacturers or the bike shops. We have been favoring or encouraging local bike shops: Tonka, Gear West, Freewheel, Trailhead, Eric's, Maple Grove Cycling. That they're all excellent bike shops. Tonka has in the past and may continue, it remains to be determined, provided two key things. One, if you bring in your bike and you say that you're on the team, they will prioritize getting the repair done, which is going to prove to be super useful to you at some point. And then also they've been giving discounts on kind of across the board on all of their gear and stuff. But I can't speak for what that's going to be this year with the change in the league and the pandemic ongoing. Nonetheless, it's worth asking, and if you go to the Minnesota Cycling Association website, you can see who the sponsors are, which manufacturers are sponsoring, what their discounts and offers are, so you can get a little bit of intel before you contact the bike shop. Sometimes at the races, you're just hanging out with your friends. I haven't seen a chessboard for a while, but I do see a lot of hammocks and a lot of hanging out. All right, so we're almost done. Two more slides. So you can sign up through Community Ed. I know that as of today, it was waitlisted only. We're going to take whoever was in the waitlist as of yesterday, and they're going to get in, and then open it up for a few more slots, and then it'll go back into waitlisting after those fill. I can't add more athletes unless I have more ride leaders. So it's going to be, we'll go a couple more weeks, 3 weeks, until we get to the point at which we close it for the season. And during that time, I'll wrap up conversations with prospective ride leaders, and we'll sort out what our final numbers could be for the season. After you sign up through Community Ed, you sign up through the Minnesota Cycling Association. That is done by us prompting you to do that. So first you go to Community Ed, and then you'll get the prompt. You'll also get the Team Snap notification after registration. And then if you would, please file a physical with the Wayzata High School, that would be great. The cost, the price. There is a team registration fee There is also a Minnesota Cycling Association registration fee. And then for the race calendar, there's either a $150 fee that covers all of the races, so 5 races for $150, or you can, if you're unsure about which races you can make for whatever reason, you could register $60 on the day of the race or $50 the week prior to the race on an individual basis. So obviously it's much less expensive to just sign up for 5 for the price of 3. Our jersey order tends to run about $60 for jerseys. New riders, when we do the jersey order, we'll announce what jerseys we have on hand as the team. There's some hand-me-downs that I've received that I can distribute, and then there's also the opportunity on Team Snap for everyone to communicate with each other about what they have, what they've grown out of, or what are ready to give up. And so there can be jerseys had for, I've seen everything from $20 to free, depending on what the individual's goal is there with the hand-me-down. So anyway, at the end of the day, the lowest price that you could get all of these things for would be $545 for the season. And it's a chunk of change, but totally worth it. Like, if you think about how many hours we're on the bike and how much fun the races are and all that jazz, it's definitely, you won't regret it. Okay, communication channels. I got to reemphasize Team Snap. The schedule is going to be on there, all of our communications. And it's one thing that's important to note is that although my contact information is on the website and my email address is here with my phone number, the communications between the athletes and the coaches and the ride leaders is always done through Team Snap, either via the chat function or the email function. And also the schedule has a function that allows you to toggle your availability, that you'll be there, that you're tentative, or that you won't be there, which is hugely helpful for us at practice to know whether or not to expect you. And at the races, for that matter. MinnesotaCycling.org, that's Minnesota Cycling Association's website. It is already right now loaded up with this season's information about races, the league rules, the league contacts, if you want to contact the administration for the league, if you have questions about the training that we go through, or how you can volunteer, how can you get more involved, whatever you're curious about. They're a great bunch of individuals and they're happy to answer questions. Community ed, as I mentioned, Jody Olson is our community ed liaison, and you can reach her through community ed at wyzettaschools.org or this phone number. And then finally, this is me, Bill Miller. So with that, oh man, I went as fast as I could. So I'll open it up to questions. I don't know if people can raise their hands or what, but I'll just take questions as they come. I'm eager to hear questions from anyone, new or old, especially new, so that everyone else can hear the answers.
Hey, Bill, this is Virgil, stays Zachary's dad.
Yeah.
Question, Zach had a new Specialized 2 years ago. We were just wondering, what's the best way to know if the bike fits him for this year, so that we could, if we know that it doesn't, that we could start looking sooner than later. If we bring it into Eric's, that they could maybe say like, oh yeah, you should just buy a new one. But we want to know for sure. And what's a good way for us to tell?
That would be a great way to do it, is to go to a bike shop and ask them to size you up. I don't think that any of the bike shops would push a new bike on you. I think they would be completely honest with how good of a fit that is. And more importantly, Virgil, like what are they assessing in order to judge the fit? But the baseline, you're talking about potentially having grown out of a bike. So, we're looking for the seat to be able to get high enough that there's still a little bit of a bend in the knee, but not a lot. If you straighten your leg out and the pedals all the way down on one side and you drop your heel, your knee is practically locked. That's about, so if that's the seat height, but then there's also just the reach, and I'm probably not the best person to try to describe it over the internet here, but definitely go with a bike shop.
Okay, we'll do that then. Thanks.
Yeah. All right, I see two hands up here. So, yeah, go ahead.
Kristen,
Leanne?
go ahead.
Okay. My name's Kristen. I have an incoming sixth grader who is very interested in joining the team. He has a little bit of experience just with us as family. My question is about commitment level, as he's also a soccer player, and the soccer teams do have fall seasons. So, is it expected that we're at, if there's 3 practices per week, all 3? I did miss the first 5 minutes of the meeting, so I apologize if that was already covered as we were at soccer practice. Understand you can't come to practice late. I did catch that part, but the level of commitment, particularly as a 6th grader, yeah.
It's a lot. I mean, well, I have 2 comments. We're looking for the kids to come to every practice. And, if they're not there 2 practices a week throughout the season, they're missing out on a lot. So I guess that would be the minimum is 2 per week. And the practices aren't uniform, so we do different things at each practice. Sometimes we're on the trails, sometimes we're doing skills and drills, sometimes we're doing cardio. So there's just in 1 week, we might do 3 significantly different things. But my other comment is that it's a lot of exercise and a lot of time, really a lot of time. So, I guess I would caution you or caution your child to be careful about overexertion.
Sure.
My perspective and the dual sport athletes that we've had typically aren't able to do it all, and they definitely can't keep up with the rest of the team, especially as the season gets later on and we get faster and go longer distances. They really struggle to keep up. At least some of the dual sport athletes do. So that's something to take into consideration. Our practices are 2 hours, and it takes 20 minutes to get there at least to go to Lake Rebecca or Elm Creek, depending on where you live. So you're talking about a 3-hour commitment in the evening. It's a lot. Of course, we love it, so we don't mind how much time it takes. But if you have other things going on after school throughout the week, you're going to be really busy. Does that help?
Okay. Yes. I just didn't know, if there were kids who did do other sports as well. The main soccer season at this age is spring, so but they do still compete sort of most of the year round. That was my main question, is managing that. And then along those lines, if we found that, as we get closer to the start, it sounds like you have a wait list. So is that something that if we had to drop because we don't yet know the soccer commitment at this point, is that doable?
To drop out? Yeah.
Not once the season starts, but like as we get closer, if we know more
Yeah.
about you know, soccer and whatnot.
Yeah. I guess, Jody, if they drop out before we start, like it the last week in July or whatever, would you refund the?
Yeah, I think we would, yes, I would say we would refund, especially, I mean, we have a pretty robust group of kids that are interested, and so I would say for your planning sake, Bill, maybe, let's see. I wonder if we could say, maybe we can send this out to like by the middle of July, so that you guys can plan practices and be thinking about how many ride leaders. I don't want to leave that in a lurch. So Bill and I, why don't you and I talk further? And
Okay.
then we can send that information out, Kristen. How does that sound?
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a few weeks lead time might be helpful for you and the ride leaders, but we can talk that through.
Yeah. Just to clarify, our practices from July through August are going to be 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Okay.
And then they're going to be they're going to move to 6 to 8 p.m. as we get, I think, maybe the last week in August and into September. And then once we get to mid-September, they go to 5:30. And by the time we get to October, it's 5 p.m. So it gets, that's another challenging thing, right? As we start out with this schedule that allows for a lot because it starts so late in the day. But we finish the season with even the ride leaders are struggling to get there because it's coming up right on the heels of the work day with a 5 p.m. start. And then the races for junior high, it's kind of an all day event. The race is one lap. There's a specific time that it occurs, but it's again on a Saturday. You can expect that we'll expect you to be at the race an hour beforehand at least. We do a warm up, and then there's staging, which takes some time to get all the racers lined up. So an hour is the minimum prior to a race that you'd be there. And then, for sixth graders, it's a 20 to 30 minute race, and then you're free to go. So there's some flexibility there, but I won't be able to answer what time of day a sixth grader is going to race until we get the schedule from the league, which will be typically in early August.
On that note, are families expected to stay the entire, like when they're farther away, like stay the weekend, or just the one day, just in terms of cost planning for, hotels or something if it's that far away?
Yeah, it's just the one day, the day that you're racing. That's a good question. And actually, if you're registered and you're going to race in all the races, I mean, this year we were lucky. I was able to pick. We do a race selection, and so we don't get the same races every year. It's kind of a draft type approach. We were able to get races that are relatively close, and so the only one that's really far away is Redhead. But if you're going to be racing at Redhead, you should be making your hotel reservations for nearby as soon as you can. So you'll find that the league kind of mops up all the hotel rooms in a good radius around the race venue. That last race of the season will have, I think he said there'll be 7,000 people engaged in the event over the weekend. So some large number like that. It's a lot of people for Chisholm. Okay, Liang, you have your hand up.
Yes. So we signed up for my son Harry Ding. That will be his first year. He started riding from last year. So I have a question about the team snap. I just downloaded the app. Mm-hmm. It says join only by invitation. So so you're gonna send us the invitation?
Yeah, for registered riders at some point between now and probably mid-June, we'll get you an invitation. It'll be a few weeks before practice starts that we'll get the invitations out to you. And the communications until you get the Team Snap invitation and you're signed up, communications will come through community ed. So
Okay, got it. Another question is about carpool. Do you guys have some kind of informal arrangement or possible carpool?
Yeah, it would be informal. It would be so the ride leaders, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with the 2 Deep leadership that Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts follow for athlete safety. Well, basically, ride leaders aren't allowed to be in a one-on-one scenario with any athlete. So provided that the ride leader has their children and others in the car, we can help with carpooling too. But with the pandemic going on, no one's really done that for a while.
I see.
But we used to do it. And what you would do is you would coordinate through Team Snap, you know, reach out to others, see where people are located, and then look for that opportunity. I mean, the restraints are going to be the pandemic. That's a personal decision at this point. And then individuals' capacities for hauling bikes, right? Not some people only have a 2 bike rack or whatever, and they just don't have space for extra people. But I'm sure that people will be happy to help, and we'll talk it over at the new riders session that we do the first day of practice. You know, we encourage the parents to be there. We have a separate meeting for the parents while the kids are going through some of the orientation, so that we can answer more questions and you can meet each other, etc. So that'll be a good time to try to tackle that.
Sounds good. That's all my question.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Do you have any ride leaders that have questions that you want to ask me? Anything I overlooked this season that you guys think I should chime or add information about? All right.